moving on to it's NL Central time. Um,
We love our
Fangraphs.
Central divisions here.
If you're not from the Midwest, beat it. That's all I gotta say. Um, I do the same song and dance every year. I'll say it on air until I'm proven wrong. Fangraphs and Pacoda disrespects the Cardinals every year, and it's because they just can't project that it's hard to project that Tommy Edman is a 5 WAR player or that Brendan Donovan is a 4.5 WAR player, but they are. That's you can go and look at a guy like Brendan Donovan or on Savant, and like that vision regression, that's not happening. Like we're talking about a guy who is at least 90th percentile in like the big four, what you look at for play discipline, whiff percentage, K rate, walk rate, all of that. Like it's an elite tool. The Cardinals lineup is so shockingly deep. Like I'm talking about Brendan Donovan right now, and it's because I love him. But like 1 through 9, like I'll have this earnest conversation with you. I think that it is. I would say it's the third best lineup in baseball. I think that Houston and maybe Toronto, or excuse me, Houston and Atlanta, I would say have better 1 through 9s, maybe. And I think that Toronto and then San Diego and yours truly are in that conversation. But Contreras, we had made the promise to the Cardinals organization of renowned focus on defense and commitment to that. So if he's an average defender with an 800 OPS, Goldschmidt's your MVP. Like we're talking about a lineup where your worst hitter is Tommy Edman. And that's a guy that is a 20 DRS glove and still like a 105 WRC plus. I look at this team and I've still seen people try to say that the Brewers could win this division. I don't buy it. I think the Winker trade was bad. Renfroe walked from Milwaukee. And again, like I'm not immune to the criticisms of the Cardinals. Do they have a true ace? No. It's a lineup similar to the Twins pitching wise. It's a lot of maybe 2.5 and 3.5 is maybe the better way to describe the Cardinals rotation. But like, I'm not saying it's going to be like some cakewalk in terms of looking at the total record, but I think it's going to feel like one. I think the Cardinals are the only team that will win over 85 games, and I think they're winning 90 to 92.
Yeah, I have the Cardinals winning this division as well, as much as it pains me to say. But really the only criticism is how is the rotation over 162, which I think is less of a concern, but B, the rotation in like a pivotal series, like maybe come October. Like I don't think it's as much of a concern over 162. It's a fine rotation that's going to be plenty good enough, especially with the offense. I completely agree with you. I think the Cardinals lineup is easily one of the 3 best in the sport. I don't think that that's a ridiculous thing to say at all. And it's a solid bullpen, obviously, but it really is. It's just I think this team goes as far as their pitching lets them. And in the regular season, their pitching is absolutely good enough to win the NL Central. My question is more of just like how deep can they go more than anything. It's a lot less to do with what they'll do over 162 this summer. So I'm totally with you there. I think the Cardinals are incredible offense. It's like perfectly balanced. Like
oh my God, yeah.
You not only with depth, just like your bottom 3, you can have like really good hitters in your bottom 3, but
yeah,
like the balance.
Jordan Walker is going to hit 7th on opening
right
day.
Yeah, like Jordan
That's
Walker
our 7
is
hitter.
both of our favorite prospects in baseball, and he's going to be the 7 hitter to start off the season. Like there's a lot of it's a very high floor. There's a lot of balance. There's a lot of drawing walks. There's a lot of getting dudes on and then power like potential. It's just it's a very well constructed lineup as well. So yeah, the biggest thing is just how far is the starting pitching gonna take them, and in the regular season, I fully expect that to be well over 90 wins still.
I think the linchpin for the Cardinals from an organizational standpoint, what is insanely important for them, and this is where I'll sip a little John Mozeliak Kool-Aid, and I will play out what I think John Mozeliak is thinking in his head. I think the Cardinals could have a better record than the winner of the NL West. You put the Cardinals in a position where they don't have to play. They don't have to play in the wild card round. I agree with you that I think the rotation is built for 162. That's its job. Like Montgomery, Michaelis, Wainwright, even Matz. I think he's going to bounce back and be healthy. He's not the perfect example for this, but and Flaherty and Matz, I think, are more in that 150 range. But Montgomery, Michaelis, and Wainwright are guys that are going to throw over $175 in total innings pitched, and it's going to be solid every time. Like, it's a rotation that I think is built for a large sample size. I think what the Cardinals want to do is, I don't think they're fooling themselves. I think they're going to have the best record in the National League. I think they're shooting to have the second best record in the National League and get to a longer playoff series faster. Because over a longer playoff series, that's where your pitching would actually help you.
Sure.
So that's where I think the Cardinals' headspace is at. They won 93 last year. I think that if you look at like the NL West, the Dodgers aren't winning 111 again pretty comfortably. So I really do think if I, again, like, you know, I don't report to 700 Clark Street, so I don't maybe know everything that's going on in the Cardinals hive there, but I really think that their goal is, you know what, let's just win 93, 94 games again, have the second best record in the National League, skip the first round of the playoffs, and we'll just roll the dice in a 5-game series or 7-game. And that's where we'll have the advantage because we're not stars and scrubbing the rotation as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And our offense can, I think, go pound for pound with San Diego, New York, and Atlanta.
For sure. I agree with that. The only threat, even remote threat, I would say,
yes,
to the Cardinals is the Milwaukee Brewers. We can get to the other three in a second, but the Brewers only beat you in starting rotation and then comfortably have a worse offense and I think have a worse worse bullpen rather.
Yeah.
So if you're lining it up in that aspect of you know who's better overall in these three categories, the Cardinals still pretty comfortably take two of those three. But admittedly, the Brewers have one of the best rotations in baseball. They're, I think, on any given day is an argument, the best rotation in baseball. And if they were to make the postseason in a 3-game series, undeniably one of the best three,
right?
Like 1, 2, 3 you could roll out there in a 3-gamer. So, yeah, that's obviously, you know, when you go out there and for at least 2, if not 3, I mean, and like, it's such an impressively amazing rotation that they're going to hang around and they're going to have a solid like low to mid 80s win total in my eyes. But in the same conversation that I talked about the Cardinals about, like, you know, they'll go as far as their pitching can take them. The Brewers they have the rotation. They'll be fine there. They're not going to give up a ton of runs, but it's going to go as far as their offense can take them. And that's kind of been the conversation for a while with them. Obviously, Willy Adames has kind of been a resurgence. He's been really solid lately. Tigers taught him everything he knows, by the way. But then, like, you're talking about, like, Yelich. I mean, I don't think anyone's penciling in Christian Yelich to be like an all-star caliber player anymore. It's been too many years removed from that for him. And, like, after that, it's a lot of, you know, like, guys that you look at a Savant page, or you look at stats, and you go, "Oh, like I could see him doing really well," but like it's not a guarantee. And so it really is a lot of their success is they're going to play in a lot of low-scoring ball games this year, as they have for the last 3 seasons, and it's just going to be a matter of how good can their offense be.
Yeah, I think that I made this point internally at Diamond Digest last night, and this is not me pushing narrative ball. I just want to talk about the state of Christian Yelich's career as a hitter right now. Christian Yelich in 2022 had a 111 OPS plus, scored over 90 runs, had 14 homers and an OPS in I believe it was a 738 OPS. Tommy Edman in 2022 scored over 90 runs, had 13 home runs, and had a 108 OPS plus. If you were to ask, I think, the average baseball fan, talk about the pedigree of caliber of hitter, obviously Yelich is the better player. That's the caliber of hitter he is now. Low to mid-teens home runs, could steal some bases, will score runs, but like that's what he is now. And it as much as it pains Brewers fans and overjoys me immensely, that Christian Yelich money, that's Corbin Burns' money. Except it's not there anymore. Like, as much as it sucks if you're a Brewers fan and, play that Shaq clip of where he hides behind the paper and laughs. Like, they have, I think their window is closed of contention. I think it's firmly shut right now because the way they treated Burns during arbitration already in year one of that being like, you were one of the reasons we missed the playoffs. And I'm sure he said, excuse me, which is a preposterous notion for a team that traded away its best bullpen piece for scraps. I think their window's closed. They sent down Joey Wiemer and Sal Frelick. So if neither of them are ready to be major league contributors, the trading for Jesse Winker is they just watched him abuse him the Brewers had to watch him abuse them when he was on the Reds. And I think a little bit was like, we could fix him. And maybe you do, but I don't think he's a 900 OPS guy. There's just so many, it just feels like they're just trying shit. And kudos, great. But if you're trying shit while also not trying to spend any money is a fast way to become a losing team very fast.
I don't disagree with you at all. They're two specifically starting pitchers leaving away from them dropping their win total significantly.
And that's going to happen within the next 24 months.
Right.
Which is.
Yeah, scary for sure. They have a lot of very difficult decisions to make. I think that do you want to do the Cubs next?
I want to do who I think is finishing in third place. I would like to talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Oh, okay. Well, I said who I think's finishing third, so to go for it.
So I want to talk. I've hammered. This is probably the third or fourth time I've used a specific phrase about a baseball team, but I think the Pirates are the ultimate example of it, of adults in the room. That is what this Pirates team reeks of up and down this lineup. I look at their catching prospects. I think Andy Rodriguez and Henry Davis, I know, struggled a little bit, but exactly how we talked about earlier, how hockey in baseball, catcher and goalie is you sort of need two. Pirates seem to have that figured out. First base, the G-Man Choi acquisition, I think, was really solid in terms of a platoon with Carlos Santana, who, as someone who, was a Cleveland baseballer for a while and also on the Royals, even when he was terrible with the Royals, could still terrorize you with good play discipline and just being a good hitter. I love Rodolfo Castro. He's just, I think every hardcore baseball fan has that one. They have this list of random dudes that are just above average. That are that's my dog right there. Rodolfo Castro's on that list. I love watching that dude play baseball. Just an above average hitter, shows up every day, gets his knocks, cashes his check. Brian Hayes is a defensive vacuum. He's a wizard. I love watching him play. O'Neal Cruz is a just freak. He throws and hits missiles.
Alien.
Yeah, absolutely. And their outfield. I like Jack Sawinski in right field. He's got a lot of pop. I think if he just figures out how to be more consistent with it, we're talking about a guy that I think it maybe be a modern fourth outfielder on a team. Maybe not a guy that you would, if they made a playoff game, would maybe not start every playoff game, but a dude that is for sure finding his way into the lineup. Brian Reynolds is playing center field because he has to right now. I hope that they figure that out so he doesn't have to. And then you got Andrew McCutchen in left field. And that, you want to talk about a locker room presence and a voice of just veteran leadership, that he has seen the lean days and he has seen the bountiful days of Pittsburgh baseball. And I think that him making that conscientious choice, when he made that conscientious choice to re-sign with Pittsburgh, I think that indicated to me that he thinks that this team is going to be, competitively bad. And I think despite how annoying I found their announcers, I'm gonna be watching some Pirates games this year. I think out of my own free will, which I think that for a hardcore fan that just likes to watch baseball, period, like that's a good indication of ready to go.
Yeah, I have the Pirates finishing 4th in this division. I think that they will have a win total that could get into the low 70s, which is a step forward based on the last 5 years for them. I still think they're going to be pushing or surpassing 90 losses. I still think they're kind of around that 90 loss total. But I will say that I think the Pirates are going to be a team where they are a year away from becoming the Orioles last year. Next year, I think that the Pirates could be that team that's they got a lot of youth. Look at everybody is solidified here now. They're not just a bunch of rookies. I think next year is going to be the big step forward for the Pirates. And I think this year is the year that, to your point, they play some enjoyable baseball. And it wouldn't shock me at all if the Pirates, at the end of June, went on W9 and everybody was like, oh my goodness,
Wait a minute.
Look, the Pirates 9 games in a row. Is this the year? And then reality catches up with them and they still end the season with 88, 89 losses. That wouldn't shock me whatsoever. I think they play some fun ball this year, and I'm going to be watching them too. They have a lot of really fun young talent. But I think before they take that legitimate step to we're going to be around 500 and start and play our way to, the likes of competitive baseball over 162 games, I think that they're still probably a year away from that for me. But I agree with you that they're going to be much more entertaining than they've been in a very, very long time.
The other thing I talked about, having Andrew McCutchen, I like the Rich Hill signing as well. Is he going to be good by any stretch of the imagination? No. But if you want to talk about just having a guy that can sit in the dugout or out in the bullpen with guys and just provide insight. And again, that's, that could be a lot of times that could be just, kind of BS that you're spewing. But a JT Brubaker is just solid. He's not great, but he's solid. Mitch Keller, we're going to do it again. He's 26 right now. Can he do it? I really like Rosny Contreras. I was fine paying the Johan Oviedo price to the Pirates, and we acquired Quintana at the deadline last year. But I think Johan Oviedo has some legitimate potential. I really do like him. I thought that was a great win-win trade between the Cardinals and Pirates. And then just having a guy like Vince Velasquez, I don't know, the options that exist within that rotation I really like. And I think they're top 3 in their bullpen of Bednar, DeYoung, and Dwayne Underwood Jr. It's a good top 3. Now, I think where they have, yeah, I think that there's, he's only 28. People go, oh, they should trade him, and I'm like, he's going to be young enough and good enough where the next time they're good, we might see him close some very, very meaningful games for the Pirates. I don't think they would cut bait with him, but I really like that top 3 in their bullpen, and I just think if they can fill out that middle back end of their pen, there's guys that are in their mind. Luis Ortiz is a great example of a guy that I think is probably better ticketed to be a really elite reliever than he is as a starter. But if the Pirates can fill out the middle and back end of that bullpen, you can exist with a lineup that shows up every day, a rotation that shows up every day, and then a damn good bullpen. That gives you a chance to win every single game. So I know they lost 100 games last year. I think that they're going to win 74 games. I really think that especially Cruz over a full season. I think Brian Hayes becomes he's a league average hitter. That'll do wonders for them. Sawinski not getting service time manipulated, allegedly. I got to keep it at that. That platoon at first base is much better than Vogelbach over 162. And I think, when they call up Endy Rodriguez and maybe Henry Davis, or just at least Andy Rodriguez. Like the backstop production will get better. I don't know. I got a lot of optimism with the Pirates.
I like it. I have zero optimism about the Cincinnati Reds.
Dude, I know.
They're
it's
bad.
So bad. It's
They're
terrible.
Bad. So Pacoda has them at 69 and 93.
So does Fangraphs. And it still has them in last, but
that's 4 games better than the Detroit Tigers.
That's also a 7-win improvement from last year when they had Brandon Drury for the first half of the season.
So why?
So my thought process, I like the Will Myers signing. If he stays healthy, I also think they're banking on Tyler Stevenson being fully healthy and not getting hurt again.
Yeah.
I think they're also planning on at first base being healthy and productive. I'm not. I just think that and also Jonathan India managed to have every single freak injury under the sun. Like a little bit of personal relation with that. During the Field of Dreams game, when his legs started to suddenly have this bulbous swelling, he was airlifted to the hospital in Iowa City. One of my friends works at the hospital, and she was like, there's like a lot of like commotion going on. Like, is somebody like important like get shot? I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, oh, you know who it might be? Jonathan India. So, I think that he'll bounce back and be fine. Like TJ Friedel, when you play in Cincinnati's ballpark, Coors Light, I'm making it a thing. I'll get to a point where I don't have to preface. I'll just be able to say Coors Light, but it feels like if you and I were getting everyday reps at shortstop and catcher for the Reds, like I think we could muster like a 95 WRC plus because of that ballpark. So I really think it's just they're banking on health and guys will hit. And if guys will hit, even if they suck, like they'll just win like 15-12 when they're playing other bad teams enough.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like they're better than like the bottom of the barrel teams we've kind of talked about in some of the other divisions, but I don't see them winning 70.
They have 3 starting pitchers I like as well.
Yeah, I really like what's his face,
Graham Ashcraft.
Yes,
that's every touch needs to touch grass baseball fans' favorite pitcher, I think, for 2023.
He's also like the really like under the radar fantasy pickup.
He is. Yes. I think Hunter Green is I think that this is the breakout year for him. Gosh, what throwing 105 miles an hour does for your career as a baseball player. I think Nick Lodolo is also just like good. It's crazy. I low key like disagree with trading away Tyler Mahle. Mahle, yeah,
same thing.
Not in my division anymore. He's your problem now. But like, there's a real if you think about this, had they not traded Castillo, the Reds would be rocking into 2023 with a rotation of Castillo, Mahle, Green, Lodolo, and Ashcraft, and like that's a good rotation. Like they very easily could have had a good rotation. So like I think they're just fully committing to like a nosedive rebuild, which fine. I like some of their prospects. Stevenson's a great like organizational win. That's great for you guys. I think Edwin Encarnacion Stroud is an interesting guy that probably is a first baseman long term, but has to hang it up at the end of the year. So there's games to be played for him there. And I think Elliot De La Cruz is such a ray of sunshine and just absolute god athlete. I hope he balls out, but I mean, it's just a lot of it's so much like has to go right with their prospects. Even long term, I'm talking about. Like I think they're going to be in the trenches of a rebuild. Like the Pirates are sort of riding out. I think a regular nice. They were bad last year. They, despite having the same record as the Reds, felt like a way better team. And this year it's going to be, not too bad. The Reds, I think, are just on a nosedive. And it sucks if you're Hunter Green or Graham Ashcraft or Nick Lodolo or even like Elias Diaz, their closer, who's actually really good. They might not be there.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I hope they lose 120 games.
That'd be kind of awesome.
Listen, I don't understand why teams don't do it more. Like, would you rather go like 66 and 96 and have the worst record in baseball? Or like, let's go for history. Because I guarantee you, if they push for 120 losses,
shout out to Detroit, baby.
That's
You've done that twice in my lifetime. How crazy is that? I've been alive for 2 separate 114 plus lost Tigers teams. And one was 119.
I think the Cardinals have lost 100 games one time in their history as an organization. So I wish more stability on your franchise. I
think our organizations are about the same age, and I've seen 2 in my life. So
yeah, there's not a family member I have alive that was alive the last time. It's like 1904. Like, I'm talking like
nice.
Like if you were Italian, they maybe didn't let you play back then. So like that's the era the last time.
Right.
The last time they were that bad. Yeah, I have the Cubs in 4th, and I wanted when we said we were going to do this, I wanted to have a really specific prediction, which was tied. So I had the Shohei one. My other specific prediction is I think that the Pirates and Cubs will both go 74 and 88, but the Pirates will win the season series, and that's why they will be 3rd place and the Cubs will be 4th. It's not a comment because the Cubs won 74 games last year. I think their team is going to be by and large kind of the same. Like what you gain in Dansby, you lost in Contreras on offense. Like you're running Yan Gomes behind the dish. Mm-hmm. That's not good. That's not good in 2023. It wasn't good in 2018. First base is going to be a hodgepodge of bad to mid. Because I think Mancini is going to have to play left field. I say that with the assumption that Hosmer, the fact that Mervis didn't win the job means to tell me that he's going to become a pumpkin. I understand that he had a great minor league season last year, but there's literally no reason to manipulate his service time. He's not a rookie of the year. Like there's no reason to manipulate. You really should just give him the shot. And the fact that they didn't, that's a red flag to me. I think Nico Hoerner's fine. Patrick Wisdom is like 4% gain on his K rate to being terrible. There's reasons to get excited. Like I think Pete Crow Armstrong's good, but I don't think he's getting significant playing time on the major league roster this year. Cutting Hayward and cutting that money loose is good, but I don't know. The rotation is a bunch of. I said the Cardinals are 2.5 to 3.5. I think the Cubs rotation is 3.5 to 4.5 in its entirety. I don't know. There's nothing excites me. Like, and again, the Dansby signing's awesome, but that's what Contreras was as a hitter. So where are you going to gain that in wins? Like, because defense at catcher just got even worse. And your defense at shortstop is now the same, marginally better, but like your total team, I don't know. They made some noise. They signed guys. I think their team is going to be more watchable in the sense that when you see a guy batting or pitching, you know who it is. But I don't think that their win-loss total is moving that much.
Yeah, I have the Cubs like just under 500, which is, again, 3rd for me in this division. Yeah, like, if they pushed 500 and fell just short, that I have to sneeze.
Bless you. Bless you again. We'll get it out of the way just in case.
Okay. I usually do it in pairs. I don't know why I didn't there. So yeah, I have them just under 500. I do think that the moves they made this offseason kind of set them up rather nicely for like building on that in the future. I don't think that what they did, like everybody is so like immediate gratification with stuff like that. And I agree with you. I don't think that what they did this offseason like immediately makes them a good team, but I don't think they thought that either. Like I think that this is very much like placing building blocks so that you have some sort of some semblance of a core when you are trying to add more pieces and promote more prospects and really kind of like take that big step forward. And you're not just starting from zero. Like I think that they're starting to just like put pillars in place. And so I don't mind their off season. I like the move.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't have paid Dansby that much, but like I don't mind it. I don't think it's awful. And yeah, I think they'll be a 76 to 79 win team, and they'll beat teams that they are better than, and they'll, you know, lose to teams that are better than them. Like I think it'll be a pretty middle of the road team. Like you said, it'll be a more enjoyable product than last year for them, but I don't expect them to like take a huge step forward just because they brought in Dansby Swanson or anything.
Yeah, like I said, they're 74 and 88 last year, negative 74 run differential, and just with the moves they made on offense, I think it's a little bit better. I still think they're going to finish with a negative run differential. Like the pitching is, I mean, you look at the pitching that they had last year, they kind of pieced together a bunch of guys that ended up with similar lines, at least, or over like an aggregate than what their current rotation has. Like for me, it just, instead of having, you know, two like 27-year-old quad A pitchers each make like 15 starts and put together a combined 3.80 ERA, we'll just pay Jameson Taillon to do the exact same thing.
Right.
And it's like, cool. Like I almost said, you know, you'll see more. You will, I guess you'll see more Jameson Taillon jerseys in the bleachers, but like he's not improving on that. So it just felt like a fresh coat of paint, which does make you more interested. If you're shopping for a house, you're more likely to go take a tour inside, but it's going to feel the same like it did last year. It'll just feel nicer to look at. But again, I wanted to make one kind of really fun record-based prediction. So I will stick with Pirates and Cubs will have the same record, but Pittsburgh will win the season series and thus get the tiebreaker. Yeah, why not? That's a harmless, you know, that's, if I get, you can't clip that and cook me for it in 6 months if they're like, well, one team actually won 77 and one won 75.
We'll find a way.